The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yes. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It is Tuesday, August 19th. And today is a National Potato Day.
Potato is quite impressive vegetable.
What's that?
So the potato is quite an impressive vegetable. It does a lot.
I know that. I mean, there's even a toy. There's even a Mr. Potato Head, and you know what I'm saying? You know, shout out to Spuds, you know what I mean? And it's also National Aviation Day. That's so we can, you know what I'm saying, get higher.
I see what you did there.
You see what I did there? Okay, fair enough, fair enough. I think Michael and Jenny is both with us already. Are you guys turning your cameras on, you guys?
I don't see their camera.
Oh, there's Yarrow.
I'm waiting. I'm trying to get my Wi-Fi to work better. So.
Oh, okay. All right. So
I know, but I'm here with you, and that's what counts.
Okay. All right. So then we just need Michael to turn his camera on too. Okay. All right. Nonetheless, it's also National Soft Ice Cream Day.
Soft ice cream is better.
Yeah. Soft. What do you prefer, Yarrow? Soft ice cream or hard ice cream?
There is no way I can answer that without revealing what a weirdo I am.
Oh, man. Thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And we are going to kick it off with Miss Jenny Beth Dills today. She's the founder of Kind Cannabis and of Justice Served, a 501c3 that helps justice-impaired individuals get their lives back on track after they've been victims of the track. And apparently she's coming in looking like Casper the Friendly Ghost today. It is none other than Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
And
Yay me. Okay, so we have Hawaii updates. The Hawaii Department of Health has just released its latest medical cannabis registry report as of July 31st, 2025. The program now lists 29,325 active medical cannabis patients, down from its peak of 34,037 back in May of 2023. In July alone, they approved 386 new patient registrations and 1,129 renewals, with 2,447 caregivers helping patients manage access, plus 239 physicians and APRNs are currently certifying patients. Men now make up 57.27% of patients, averaging 53 years of age, while women account for 42.47%, with an average of 51. A smaller group identified as non-binary with an average age of 38. The most common qualifying conditions are severe pain, cited by 82.88% of patients, followed by PTSD at 18.24%, persistent muscle spasms at 6.21%, severe nausea at 6.15%, and cancer at 6.05%. By age group, the largest cohort of patients is age 36 to 45, followed by those 66 to 75 and 56 to 65. And regardless of age, severe pain remains the top condition. Geographic breakdown shows Honolulu has the most people registered. The report also highlights as of the end of July, 802 out-of-state visitors from 30 states, territories, and Washington, D.C. are registered, bringing the year-to-date total to 2,935 visiting patients. So why this matters is, the numbers obviously dropped a lot. The Hawaii caregiver and patient programs were kind of under attack a little bit as they were trying to push towards adult use legalization. Hawaii is now allowing doctors to decide what conditions they need to prescribe cannabis for instead of giving a list of qualifying conditions. So hopefully we'll see these patient numbers go up, and we can continue to see Hawaii have a robust caregiver system and a robust medical program. But I'll throw it back to you guys. And yeah.
So
I think that's huge. I think that's huge that there's no list, because you got people who go in very often to get medical marijuana license. The doctor says, "Oh, does your have intestinal problems?" Right? They have to make shit up just in order to get the license. So it's nice that the doctor can actually take the recommendation regardless of the illness. Because, quite honestly, cannabis can be a panacea.
no, I agree with you on that, Todd. So basically before they used to have a list, and then now they got rid of it, of qualifying conditions, and they're saying that doctors can write recommendations for anything. Am I correct on that?
Mm-hmm.
That's great news. That's great news. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've never really understood how legislators are able to dictate medical policy as far as to say, oh, you can only get it for this condition and that condition and that condition. I've never really understood how they were able to legislatively, legally do that. But very, very
Unless
interesting.
it's about a woman.
What's that?
True. That's true.
It's actually not about a woman, Yarrow. It's not about a woman. It's about killing. Okay, it's about death.
But they don't say. They don't say that about opiates. Right? Oh, you have to have a certain disease in order to get an opiate.
Exactly. There's not a list of qualifying conditions to receive opiate treatment. You're exactly right, Todd.
So, there's usually, I think, recommended prescribes that they're actually the medication is approved for, and then they can prescribe off-label for things at times, and that's kind of what happens. So they are technically approved for certain conditions. Most doctors are like an A plus B equals C type thing. Like, okay, they have this condition. This is the type of medication I prescribe for it. So I understand that, but it's not like an over-the-counter thing like aspirin and things of that nature. And I'm sure things like, opiates are widely prescribed from, dental issues, but it's mostly centered around pain and things of that nature. You're not getting opiates, at least as far as I know, maybe ketamine, not an opiate, but a sedative for psychological issues and stuff like that. Where you would for cannabis, and I understand cancer gets opiates for everything, right? Because they have chronic pain, they have neurological issues and stuff. So I don't know. I think that I think most medicines are prescribed for an illness and off-labeled for other things.
Interesting in the chat, Hawaii Sustainable, he says only tourists get cards now, and he also says that the 8 dispensaries out there all suck.
So is the caregivers out there allowed to grow? I believe they are, right?
Yeah, there's a caregiver system, and that was mainly what they've operated off of historically, right? Carewalea and like some of those Hawaiian dispensaries, Hawaii's very tumultuous, and if you're part of the caregiver system, you hate Carewalea, as Hawaii Sustainable is, illustrating for us. If you are Carewalea, you probably hate the caregiver system. They're very quarrelsome right now, but that's because everybody's fighting for the regulations that they want at this time. So, I haven't been into Carewalea. I know the people that own it. I don't have a personal opinion. So I just kind of stay out of that and look for reasonable ways to help. But yeah, and there's definitely, by the numbers, they issued the people they told us how many people were visiting from other states. there's definitely still people in Hawaii that are going and getting recommendations. But I think the main important part here is that people are able to go see their doctor, and their doctor is able to practice medicine as opposed to read off of a random list and say, you can have it for this, this, or this.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with that. Doctors should be able to prescribe medication based on their beliefs.
Yeah, exactly. Let the doctors do what the doctors do. I'm with you, Michael. I am with you. You have any final?
Does this open the door like pharmaceuticals? Does this open the door for cannabis companies to start dropping off samples, bribing the nurses and the doctors?
No, and pharma companies aren't allowed to do that anymore either.
Oh, I know they're not allowed to, but they do it. I think they've stopped at a bridge in Brooklyn.
Hawaii Sustainable, Jenny in the chat, he's saying that that Care Wailea is not a dispensary.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do they not own a dispensary?
What's that?
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not in Hawaii, but you know what I mean. Hawaii Sustainable is, you know, and it's pretty early all over there. You know what I mean. Yarrow, you have any final thoughts on this before we move on?
No, I love it. I think less government interference with the relationship between doctors and patients all around is great. And what I'm picking up is that there's still a pronounced lack of access to brick and mortar retail, which is not great. So if you change the regs, but patients can't get increased access, that's kind of like you're addressing kind of one side of the problem. We covered last year in Hawaii how they almost had a shutdown at the 11th hour in the November, December, because they hadn't given a path for the caregiver model to continue. So this is, in my mind, a very, very small win. It's worth celebrating. I still think it's pretty foobar over there. And it also just pains me that, 40 years after the AIDS epidemic, we're still talking about whether, people can access cannabis as medicine with doctors. And so I think we have to celebrate this win, but also see it through the context of this is too little too late, and we need to continue to push the issue.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but nothing really can be too little too late, right? I mean, it could be too little, but it's never too late.
I thought that was your tag on Grindr.
Oh boy. And on that, we're going to roll into our first commercial, and we are going to be right back. And we are back, you guys.
Better.
Oh yeah, there you go, Todd. Now that's your lock that in right there, Todd.
Hey, me.
Yes. All right. Well,
What do you got, Jason?
That was some intro.
Yeah, exactly. It amazes me sometimes. Well, you know what? Oh man, this kind of goes along with some of the other stories that we're going to be following along today. But just be aware, you might get triggered by this a little bit, possibly, or maybe you won't. You know what I mean? Maybe you won't. I'm really interested to hear Michael's take on this, because I think some of these complaints are just, like that's just kind of how the system works. But nonetheless, you guys, here we go. A U.S. Army vet detained by ICE during a California cannabis raid takes on the federal government. That's right. George Reitz, a 25-year-old U.S. citizen and Army veteran, spent 3 days in federal custody after being caught in a large-scale immigration enforcement action at a Southern California cannabis farm known as Glass House. During that time, he said he was denied access to a lawyer, prevented from contacting his family, and placed in an isolation cell, all without being charged with a crime. Reitz, a security guard at Glass House Farms in Camarillo, said he was on his way to work work on July 10th when he encountered an ICE roadblock amid protests and federal agents. According to Reitz, officers broke his car window, sprayed him with pepper spray and tear gas, and forcibly removed him from the vehicle. 2 officers placed a knee on his back, and while another knelt on his neck despite his compliance and repeated attempts to identify himself as a U.S. citizen, he was transported first to a nearby Navy base and then to the Metropolitan Detention Center in downtown Los Angeles, where he remained in custody for 3 nights. Reitz described being covered in chemical irritants, denied showers for fresh clothing, and placed on suicide watch after becoming emotionally distraught. Meanwhile, his family was unable to locate him, and he missed his daughter's 3rd birthday. He said he received no explanation for his detention and was released without apology or charges. Now, Reitz is seeking accountability through the Federal Tort Claims Act, a law that allows citizens to sue the federal government when harmed by its employees. Represented by the Institute for Justice, a nonprofit interest law firm, Reitz has submitted claims to the federal agencies involved, and only if the agencies deny or fail to act on the claims within 6 months can he proceed to court. In a quote, he says, "I'm calling out the federal government not just for what they did, but to me, for what they are doing to others," Reeder said. "I'm continuing to fight this for this country now as a civilian," he says. Attorneys representing Reitz described the case as an example of how federal agents can strip Americans of basic constitutional protections, even when those individuals have served in the military. Georgia's claims are a critical step to enforce the Constitution and other laws in court, said Institute for Justice attorney Marie Miller. Senior attorney Anna Bidwell added, "Without accountability for these actions, the relationship between citizens and their government remains broken. George is doing his part to repair that relationship, just as he did when he served his country in Iraq." The raid at Glass House Farms was part of a broader federal enforcement operation that led to the detention of hundreds of people, including undocumented workers, and sparked protests from farm workers and advocacy groups. One worker died after falling from a greenhouse roof during the operation, and federal officials have not clarified why Reitz, a U.S. citizen, was detained or addressed his allegations for excessive force. Reitz's case comes amid a climate of heightened scrutiny over immigration enforcement in Southern California, and a federal judge recently issued a temporary order barring indiscriminate arrests without warrants in 7 counties, including Los Angeles, after concerns that some detainees were targeted based on their appearance rather than any alleged wrongdoing. As he pursues his legal claim, Reitz has also launched a GoFundMe campaign to cover legal expenses, and he said his goal is not only personal redress, but to ensure that others do not face the same treatment. In a quote, "This is about holding the government accountable," he said. "I serve this country, and now I want it to do right by me," he says. Well, first off, you're already represented by this law firm that's going to give you free law things. So why you have a GoFundMe campaign for your legal expenses, I think, is a little disingenuous. But I'm going to wait to hold judgment and see what you guys have to say about this.
You're going to wait to hold judgment? Come on.
Yep.
You just did. That was judgment in and of itself.
That was not judgment. That was a comment, Michael. That was a comment. That was not a judgment.
Oh, come on.
That was a comment.
Oh, there's your boys taking down American citizens again.
Well, here's the thing, Todd. Here's the thing. 72 hours. He's complaining about 72 hours. You can be detained for 72 hours in any state by any law enforcement agency.
Oh, it's okay?
Yeah, that's 100% okay. Yes, that is 100% legal to be detained for 72 hours if you're on a crime scene or whatnot.
Because you look like a Mexican.
No, that's not. Stop it, Todd. Michael, can you elaborate on this? That is basically the law, that they have 72 hours to anytime that they detain you to either press charges or release you. That's just a standard law here in America.
Oh, usually you have to go to court within 24 hours.
That's not the case here in California. They got 72 hours.
No,
that's a mental health hold.
No, that's not.
5150 in California.
That's not, bro.
Criminal arrest.
I've been held for 72 hours without being charged before.
You were 5150 crazy,
guilty.
man. Every time
No,
you
I
talk
was
about
not.
your political views, I know you're crazy.
No.
You cannot be held for 72 hours.
100% you can.
without being charged.
You 100% can be held for 72 hours without being charged. Yes, you can.
That's not true.
That is true. That is 100% true. You obviously don't know the law. You never have been through it, obviously.
Okay, it's 48 hours in California, but either way.
Well, it used to be 72 hours.
It's 48.
So in other words, you're incorrect. It's okay.
Hey, it may be 48 hours now, but nonetheless, that's my point. Is that they have time to process things and figure things out. That's a normal thing. So I don't know why he's complaining about the 72-hour thing.
Just a whole disruption
because he was held for 72 hours in California and not charged with anything, and they're not allowed to do that. That's why he's complaining about it.
But he wasn't held under California law. Otherwise, it would have been 48 hours, apparently. Thank you, Jenny Beth. But he was held under federal law, which I do believe is 72 hours.
Why are you thanking her for correcting you when I corrected you? Why did she get to thank you?
Because you didn't correct me, Yarrow.
Jason's actually correct. I continued reading through, and the maximum is 72 hours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I told you 72 hours. I rest my case. True. It's 100% true. I've been held for 72 hours before, Yarrow, without being charged.
72 hours is a mental health hold.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Police can hold someone for up to 72 hours in some jurisdictions before formally charging them with a crime. However, this is not a universal rule and varies state by state and by situation. Some states, like California, the time limit is 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
But can be extended.
Yep. Jack Beanstalk says California will hold you for 72 hours. I've been released at 71 hours with no charges. Just saying.
Sounds like abuse of the system, and you should join the lawsuit. Not that means it's the status quo or A-OK.
Yeah. That is what it is, though, bro. That's always has been the law. You know what I mean? And that just is what it is.
It looks like it's a standard of reasonableness, constitutionality-wise.
Thank you.
So it was reasonable to hold this guy because he looked like
I just want people to also understand that 72 hours is as far as like business court days. It does not account for weekends.
So if you get picked up on a Friday, you're there till what?
You could not get out till Wednesday. Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah, that sucks.
Counts.
Does count weekends?
No, it does not count weekends. Weekends do not count in that 72 hour.
Florida, yes, absolutely.
In Florida, it does, Michael? Michael, did you say it does in Florida?
Yes, he is saying it does count.
7 days a week in Florida.
Interesting. Interesting. Well,
I don't even know what that time is.
Interesting.
So back to the article.
Yep.
Yeah, and this guy was being held by ICE as an American citizen who served in the military. That's a totally different question than someone committing a crime, especially without access. Even, I mean, I don't know. Did you have access to an attorney or be able to make a phone call within those 72 hours?
No, I got held in I got held in the same way in basically 23-1. Where you get, you know what I'm saying, 23 hours a day locked down and 1 hour out to do whatever you do. And that's,
I mean, look, let me pan out for the 30,000 foot overview, because we love to bicker here, and we're bickering about something that's not really the story here. The story is whether you agree with this administration's goals and their proposed policies or not. They have really thrown away, in a lot of examples, due process and a way that preserves rights versus enforcement. And we see it time and time and time again. And this one happens to be extra easy for people to understand because it happens to involve an individual who served this country in arguably one of the most noble ways, which is putting themselves in harm's way to defend whatever version of democracy we have these days. But when you throw out due process, when you take people to El Salvador, even when the Supreme Court says you can't do that, and when you've got people being rounded up, not because they've committed an obvious crime, but because they're not white passing, it unfortunately validates a lot of the criticism coming from the opposite side of the political spectrum that says that Trump is normalizing bigotry.
I'm gonna push back a little bit, Yarrow, because it says that this guy was taken out of his car or whatnot, and so we don't know how much difficulty he was giving ICE enforcement when there's a whole bunch of protesters going on and a whole bunch of stuff. That's a very heightened situation.
Then
and
he would have been charged with obstruction of justice.
Slow down. Maybe that is why they took him is for that and decided not to charge him with it. That could be highly possible as well as why he was treated in that way. We don't know from how he was acting to the ICE agents in relation. There's only his story, you know, and anytime you have a story, there's their side of the story, there's the other side of the story, and then there's what really happened.
Yeah, I think what's really happening is we've got people who are not identifying themselves in masks, rounding up U.S. citizens in a way that is producing fear. It is bad for business. It is bad for communities. It's bad for national unity, all under the auspices of dealing with the immigration, the undocumented issues. And we're also finding that it's having chilling economic effects on red states. And so it's bad for business. I think it's not in keeping with the ideals that most people in this country believe this country stands for. And the way in which it's being done is producing, I don't know if it's unintended or intended results, but I don't think we can say this is all a net positive. The ICE people are undertrained, overfunded, and are going along with masks on. Last I checked, we were supposed to be this first world country, this beacon of democracy, the best justice system in the world, due process. Lady Justice is blind. And we are not seeing that in the way that these duties are being discharged.
You got to be a U.S. citizen to be subject to due process.
That's actually not true.
Not true. We've argued about
not
this
true.
before.
And we actually discussed it on this show. And I actually pulled up the early 1900s Supreme Court ruling. And I actually put it in the chat.
I think there's been some new stuff. I think there's been some new stuff in relation to that.
America, you choose not to acknowledge the facts that are codified through the judicial branch, that is articulated in the Constitution for all persons, and that is it's a settled case.
I don't know. I don't think it's settled.
Information and still maintain a moral high ground.
I don't think it's settled. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, it's settled. It's person. It's just like Fourth Amendment rights and all those rights that people get. They can't vote, so there are differences and discrepancies, but absolutely they have process.
So what he's saying is you are completely wrong.
Hey, you know, it's all right.
Incorrect.
John Lawler in the chat in the chat, he says, "Oh, go ahead, Michael. I'm sorry."
Terrorist activity or things of that nature implicate, different things. That's how we get like Guantanamo Bay. So, but not normal people pulled over on the side of the.
Well, John Lawler in the chat, he says, "I doubt they just immediately broke the window, pepper sprayed him, then dragged him out of his car." He said something led up to that, and I totally agree with that analysis.
They do it every fucking day.
No, stop it, bro. Stop it. Stop it.
Story after story after story after story.
Oh man,
They got Proud Boys as ICE agents, and they're fucking ripping people out of their fucking cars. It's fucked up.
I don't know.
Depends on the officer and the situation. No matter where you are with situations. I mean, I've literally been in court where I've had 50-year-old women crying over a cop charging her with resisting without violence because her seatbelt got stuck and she didn't get out of the car quick enough. The cop finally ripped her out of the car.
I have seen that happen.
Normal.
I have seen that happen.
What's wrong with that, Michael? What's the matter with that? Hey, you got to
I have a case right now where the guy was talking to an undercover for THCA flower. And it wasn't specific, it was THCA flower. The undercovers show up, the dude's sitting in the parking lot with the car reclined back. They ram him. They head-on ram him with the vehicle to stop him. Like, don't try to block him in, just ram him with the vehicle. So, I mean, and like, guy has no priors or anything. Talking about a pound of weed, whether or not it's real marijuana or hemp or whatever. Like, come on. What's the point of doing that shit? I've seen law enforcement
got to protect the kids, got to protect national security, Michael,
and do like they do search warrants and then they cut people's electrical cords in the middle of the wires
Yeah.
You know, so you like have to tape it back together, or you just have to throw the TV away or shit.
Oh yeah, no, you
So, I
can't.
mean,
You can't tape those cords back together. That's not really. You got to run whole new
things
lines for
are
that.
unreasonable that law
Speaking
enforcement does regularly.
Yeah.
speaking of whole new lines, by making that misstatement about the right to due process and us going down a rabbit hole to correct you yet again, everybody sidestepped responding to what I'm saying.
Oh
which
yeah,
is
what's
whether
that?
you agree with this administration's goals or not.
I do.
The methodology appears to throw out some of the foundational protections that this country has had the right to be proud of. And when we throw that out in the name of getting things done more efficiently, we give up the essence, the soul of what makes America great, all under the auspices of making America great again. And so that due process is what makes this justice system worth emulating. And under this administration, there seems to be systemic, blatant disregard for that.
I disagree with that analysis, Yarrow, but I love you, buddy. And I love your opinions and your fiery pushbacks. I'm here for it, but I totally disagree with that analysis, because I do believe that we are making America great again through all of these policies. Huh?
By arresting veterans who were not guilty of anything.
He didn't get arrested, Todd. He got detained and he was released.
And honestly, you know, I mean, whatever side you're on this, just like everything else, as you go towards trying to make things better, there's going to be bumps in the roads and mistakes.
Yep, exactly.
And I think, you know, this is just our police force mentality problem. And regardless of who's been president or whatever, this stuff happens, is power corrupts. And these people who are a lot of times, you know, not college graduates, not really, you know, highly educated individuals put in these positions, and they use their power and authority over people, and sometimes in violent ways and inconsiderate ways. And we see it time and time again. And that's, I think, what we have to fix. Not necessarily the overall, and obviously drug laws, but not necessarily the overall ideology of some of these policies that we're doing. They're carried out appropriately by appropriate people in a respectful and responsible manner, you know, then they work right.
Fair enough. And Paulo in the chat, he says, dude with the green screen behind him is a 49er fan. Enough said. You know, Yarrow, just so you know, Yarrow, I happen to be a 49er fan too, but it's okay. It's all right.
I'm more than a fan. I've got it. I've got them inked on my body. When you're a San Francisco native and you grew up in the era of greatness with Joe Montana, you can talk all the smack you want, but the facts, which I tend to bring to this show, will also statistically show that that's a team of greatness. So yes, bring it.
Hey, I'm with you, Yarrow. The Niners are a team of greatness overall. Even you know, even
the definition of a fan is you stay a fan.
Besides Kaepernick, but nonetheless. But Steve Blessingham in the chat, he threw something in there, and I totally agree with him. He says, "But we are now cleaning up a mess from many years of disregard of our country. It sucks to clean up a preventable mess, and it's going to be ugly for a while, unfortunately." I totally agree with him on that, and you know what I'm saying? Just is what it is. We got a lot of big mess to clean up, and you know what I'm saying? It's going to get messy and sloppy at some points in times, and just is what it is. And speaking of that, someone who else also helps clean up messes is none other than Mr. Michael Minardi. He's a lawyer in the great red state of Florida who helps cannabis advocates, businesses, and entrepreneurs navigate the complex regulatory framework in the great state of Florida. He's been helping patients and caregivers for over 20 years stay fresh and clean and out of jail. And that's right, you can find him at his own law office in Florida at the Minardi Law Office. It is none other than Mr. Michael Minardi.
Hello and happy high noon to everyone on the East Coast. You know, the biggest travesty of that story is the vet. You know, vets really shouldn't be treated like that. They've done so much for our country.
Yeah, much love to our veterans. I agree with you, Michael. Yeah.
So today we're doing something that hopefully will help veterans. And I'm talking about psilocybin, maximize recovery from traumatic brain injury. A scientific review concludes. Published yesterday by Ben Aiden. Psilocybin, a main chemical component in psychedelic mushrooms, can play a beneficial role patient's recovery from traumatic brain injury, according to a new scientific review published in the journal Brain Science. Reviewing 29 published studies about the use of psilocybin in patients with TBI, a three-person team from Hackensack Meridian School of Medicine and Hackensack Meridian's JFK Johnson Rehabilitation Institute concluded that assisted psilocybin use may have benefits in TBI by reducing inflammation, promoting neuroplasticity and neurogeneration, alleviating associated mood disorders. That conclusion, along with positive findings in related fields like treatment for depression and addiction, highlight the necessity for more extensive clinical trials on psilocybin's role in TBI recovery. The research on psilocybin as a therapeutic agent shows promise for its application in TBI in theory, the new review says, but it requires more in-depth studies. The report points to psilocybin apparent anti-inflammatory properties and ability to production of new neurons and connections to the brain. It also says the drug's antidepressant properties could be helpful given the comparatively high rates of depression in TBI patients. But the new paper also flags concerns regarding potential bad trips and other possible side effects, emphasizing the need for more controlled clinical trials to establish safe and effective protocols. Notably, the review found no indication that classical psychedelics were associated with an increased risk of seizures, which authors said was important given the heightened of seizures already associated with TBI. Authors emphasized that federal restrictions on psilocybin limit researchers' ability to easily conduct trials, writing that although decriminalization efforts in the United States are indicative of growing interest, federal Schedule I classification limits rigorous scientific exploration. Overall, the paper says psilocybin treatment with current therapeutic practices has the potential to maximize TBI recovery, thus providing a novel method to enhance treatment for people dealing with persistent conditions. The research comes amid a renewed interest in psychedelics, mental health, and medical conditions, including TBI and post-traumatic stress disorder, especially in our favorite military veterans. The head of the Food and FDA said earlier this week, for example, exploring the therapeutic potential of psychedelics such as psilocybin and ibogaine is top priority for the Trump administration, particularly when it comes to helping military veterans grapple with trauma from being sent to fight unnecessary wars. FDA Commissioner Marty Makary emphasized the need to cut red tape while undertaking expeditious and rapid review towards federal approval. When it comes to some of these psychedelics and other plant-based therapies, I don't think we're listening to patients. Wow, does the government ever do that? I don't think the medical establishment is listening to doctors. When I listen to the individuals who have tried some of these for real medical conditions, PTSD, severe refractory depression, people tell me that they believe that psilocybin was successful, curative, and significantly helped their mood disorder. There are now trials looking for traumatic brain injury, things we have had nothing for in the past. What we have had to treat traumatic brain injury and PTSD that has really great results up until this time. Under the Biden administration, there was stepped up interest in examining certain psychedelics with novel guidance for FDA researchers. And the FDA ultimately rejected MDMA for PTSD. The current commissioner's remarks come in the context of meaningful shift on psychedelic policy with the administration, Secretary of Veterans Affairs, U.S. Department of Services, and overseas FDA also having expressed support for exploring issue. President Donald Trump's recent pick for U.S. Surgeon General has previously described her personal experience benefiting from psilocybin. And it continues to go on about the different people, including Surgeon General Casey Means, has been outspoken about her public benefits, talks about Rep. Jack Bourbon and Lou Carrera, who added additional co-chaired to bring a bill to add additional $30 million in funding annually to establish psychedelics focus for VA facilities and receive novel treatment like psilocybin, MDMA, and ibogaine. So this continues to go on. There's a hearing in May.
Go ahead, Michael.
Sorry. Bipartisan congressional lawmakers have also asked the Department of Veterans Affairs to meet with them to discuss ways to provide access for psychedelic medicine for military veterans. Collins disclosed that he had an eye-opening talk with HHS Secretary RFK about the psychedelic medicine, and Collins said he's open to have the government provide vouchers to cover the cost of psychedelic therapy for veterans who receive services outside the VA, as Congress considers different pathways for access. In December, the VA announced that it's providing $1.5 million in funding the study of efficacy of MDMA-assisted therapy for veterans with PTSD and alcohol use disorder. So to me, this is a great sign. It continues to push the envelope here on psychedelics and prove that nature works.
Nature works if we can profit from it.
Well, I mean,
I think it works even if you can't profit from it, but
I agree with that, but that's whatever. That's what the government thinks.
I mean, Todd, your business model is based off of profiting off of nature, so why are you being such a hypocrite?
I'm not being such a hypocrite. I'm just saying I think nature does work, but a lot of the reasons a lot of this stuff is so illegal and is illegal because Big Pharma hasn't figured a way to profit from it yet.
Well, Big Pharma's about to figure out a way when it goes to Schedule 3. They're going to be the only ones profiting off of it.
listen,
We're all going to be out of
I'm
business.
just saying. And then, once it moves scheduling, then all of a sudden it'll be the panacea that it always was. But you think it's going to go to Schedule 3, Jason?
Based off of some information, and when you look at the financial disclosures and whatnot, as far as how much Kim Rivers has put, how much Jim Hagedorn from Hawthorne and Miracle Grow has put in for this, and that's their main agenda is getting it moved to Schedule 3. I think yes, I do. Unfortunately, I think it's probably going to go to Schedule 3. I'm just hopeful that the administration will go over the top and just do a full deschedule. But I'm just also trying to live in reality.
Yeah, they played their cards right. They gave Trump $1 million, so now they gave
him a lot more than $1 million. Todd,
I'm sure they did.
I think they spent $100 million on the legalization last year. Probably put in at least 30 or 40 already.
Hold on, Michael. You went silent on us. All we got was after the $100 million on the legalization bill, and then what'd you say?
And then I think they put another 30 or 40 in already this go around for 2026.
Yeah. But we're not even talking about a statewide initiative. We're talking about how much they put into Trump's actual campaign when he was campaigning prior to the 2024 election, and then how much they are continuing to put in currently now.
No, that's what I was saying. Like, they put in $100 million towards stuff. Of course, they're going to put in more than $1 million towards the president, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of more what I was getting.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And they probably wrote a personal check to him for $1 million.
They all have to be personal checks when you contribute to federal elections, Todd.
Oh, I think they just wrote to Donald Trump. Here's $1 million.
No, that's not how it works.
I know that's not how it works. It's probably how this worked, though.
No, it's not, Todd. It's not.
Can't write from an entity to the campaign?
No, you can. You can't. No, but entities can donate to super PACs.
Right.
But you cannot, as far as if you're writing a check to the re-election campaign for President Donald J. Trump, you cannot write a check from a business. It has to be from an individual. But there's a whole bunch of different super PACs that raise funds for different things, and those can take unlimited funds from anything. And
there's also $1 million a plate galas that they all go to.
Yes,
nobody has invited me to those. That better be some really good food.
So something like that.
It's going to be like leftovers or McDonald's or something.
Stop it, Todd. That's just totally ridiculous. So when you go to something like that, you know what I mean. A lot of the times that $1 million is designated between a whole bunch of different groups that are getting portions of that $1 million. It's not $1 million that's going into Trump's pocket. That's just totally ridiculous.
And deflect.
$1 million a plate. I want some extra portions of like caviar. I want like buffet grade like caviar, like all you can eat or something like that. my thing is this, right? Like RFK, like even a broken clock can be right twice a day. And so if he can shake some things up in the way that there's been this resistance to exploring the continued benefits of plant medicine when those plants have a psychotropic effect, that's great. If we look at the history of medicine from aspirin to Valium, there's a lot of plants that have contributed substantially to the advancement of medicine. It's not just cannabis, it's not just psilocybin, and clearly we have a broken healthcare system on a lot of different levels. When we have more than 10% of our national GDP is based on healthcare, when we've got 20% of all people who go bankrupt is because of medical bills, we've got a broken system. I think we can all agree on that. So could there be some shift? I hope so. I also think that the VA, being the largest healthcare provider, I believe, in the country, putting $1.5 million into MDMA research is like, to me, that's more optics than efficacy, because while it's good, it's not enough, right? Like, the people who are saying they love the veterans the most are often the people who aren't reflected in their budget, trying to find ways to support these veterans. Everybody's like, oh, God bless the veterans. God bless them. Well, if you God bless the veterans, then you probably, as a VA, like, what is $1.5 million? What percentage of their annual budget is that? Or what percentage of their annual R&D budget is that really? We've had studies going back to the 80s about MDMA being effective for couple counseling and this, that, and the other. And so if we really care about the people who are coming back with PTSD, the people who have served this country, I think we need to, again, it's like the Hawaii thing for me, right? Like, it's a step in the right direction and we need to demand more and a lot more. But again, I think RFK could theoretically have some benefit going in there, shaking things up, being absolutely loony. And Mr. Wormbrain, if he actually shakes things up in the way that this medical system is resistant to plant medicine in general, it could be a good thing.
I mean, it'll be a good thing if he says we're not moving it to Schedule 3 and he goes to over the top and deschedules it, because he also does have the power to be able to do that as the HHS secretary. But that would be the best the best case scenario in regards to that.
He was fired up when he was doing all his like confirmation stuff, but then once he got into the office, he turned about as flaccid as a wet paper towel and said that he'd defer to the DEA. Well, and
that wasn't as soon as he got in. That was during his confirmation hearing, and confirmation hearings are more for optics than they are for anything else. So I'm not surprised by any of that personally.
I think it's going to be a great litmus test to see whether he's got any sort of North Star or hill he's willing to die on.
He's got nothing. He sits in his office, waits to hear from Trump, and tell him what to do.
Oh, Todd, you're such a naysayer, bro.
Such a realist.
See him a little bit more outspoken on the rescheduling.
Say it again, Michael.
Yeah. Scheduling. I'd like to see him a little bit more outspoken on the descheduling issue.
I agree.
Was disappointed a little bit in that. Otherwise, he's got some great things and some things that maybe need a little bit more pause or.
Yeah, I think that he needs to definitely deschedule that.
I think if he just gives a ha, like a really big ha, and I think it'd be. Right.
If he clears the loogie, yes, but I think to Minardi's point, he's not really taking a thought leadership or position or really using the public exposure that being at the top of our health apparatuses would allow him to sort of set a North Star or create a context that indicates that that's where he's trying, a direction that he's trying to get us to. It's been pretty limp. It's been pretty timid. It's been pretty like, okay, I get that, you're worried about the vaccines and you don't mind measles outbreaks in Texas. But when it comes to plant medicine and supporting veterans and making sure that the VA is doubling down on research to account for the years where politics interfered with science, I'm not going to give him a great grade so far.
Oh, well, Yarrow, I don't think anyone ever expected a great grade from you in the first place, so no one's going to be surprised with that. And same thing with Todd.
You give him an A+.
I give him 100% A+ all day, every day, exactly. Because he's a million times. He's a million. It doesn't. He literally could do absolutely nothing. Okay, I'll tell you right now, Todd. He could literally do absolutely nothing, and he'd still be a million times better than what we would have been stuck with if Kamala Harris and Sleepy Joe Biden would have been reelected.
You don't know that? No, you're
I'm 100% right about that. And on that, we're going to go into a commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Every legend has a humble beginning.
In world news, leaders are gathering today for the annual summit.
I want to tell you something, Che. The government is watching us through the television.
Oh, John.
Look, right there. They're trying to hack into my TV box.
We're still not able to hack into the TV box, sir.
Ha! But they can't. I've rebuilt the entire electronic system, and it sends and receives signals through quantum phase space. They'll never get in. Engage target.
In other news, local authorities are investigating a series of strange atmospheric phenomena reported by residents.
Ma'am, we're with the federal government. We need to ask you some questions.
John?
Is there a problem? We've been trying to penetrate your TV box for over 6 months. I told you they were trying to watch us through the TV, but you didn't believe me. We can't get in, and to be frank, we have no idea what you've created. Yeah, that's the point. It's called privacy. You know what the Fourth Amendment guarantees? All we know is that we can't get inside. We want to know if you can create one for us.
QUX. Even the government wants one.
And we are back, you guys. We are back. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know you'll appreciate it. We'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. And again, we do want to thank everybody for all of their support throughout the years over here at High at 9 News. On this Friday, 8/22 is going to be our 4-year anniversary, birthday, whatever you want to call it. Here at High at 9 News. So we will have completed 3 full years of doing this show for you every day. And we just want to send a lot of gratitude out to all of the correspondents that have participated and all of you, the viewers that tune in every day and watch us and check us out. And so we just want to tell you guys all thank you very, very much.
Introducing QUX Pay, or simply the Pay app.
Where you can pay like it's nobody's business.
Because it isn't. It's what everyone's been clamoring for. It's finally here.
Secure every payment. Your data stays private. QUX will never sell your data for profit, period. Pay friends, family, contacts instantly. No hidden fees. No limits. Spend on the move.
With this patented technology, you can use debit, credit, bank transfer, cash cards, and even crypto completely offline.
Amounts transferred through the Pay app reach their destination instantly. Transfers in a flash. As quick as sending a text. No more waiting around like crypto. Are you ready for the future of payments? The state of the art for money is finally here.
Data privacy and security protocols trusted by militaries and banks worldwide. QUX Pay, the Pay app.
Available as an app and point of sale system, personal and corporate accounts available. Go to QUXPay.com and start using the Pay app today.
We're going to have Stone on too. Oh, yes, right, and we are back, you guys. Jenny Beth, are you with us? Jenny Beth?
Yep.
Okay, you want to pick Yarrow off the shelf?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right.
Coming up next, the angriest elf on the High at 9 shelf. He was wrong as shit this morning, so let's see if he can turn that around. Yarrow Kubrin.
I didn't see him wrong.
He was wrong. He definitely was wrong. 100% he's wrong.
Oh my God. Jenny doesn't know the difference between an intro and a hazing, but that's fine. That's fine. I'm happy to be here. Somebody needs to be the voice of sanity and to disrupt the echo chamber that would otherwise be disinformation at best. So, it's a noble Noble function, and I'm here to do it. This is Yarrow Kubrin. Good morning. High at 9 News. Tuesday, August 19th, rounding out the 9 o'clock hour here Pacific time. My article today, At a Marijuana Moment, published just yesterday, is, let me pull it up for you.
Oh, you're having a Jenny moment, huh?
No, I was reading. Minardi's was also off the same website.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking at his.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So without further ado, Trump administration has deported more than 600 people for marijuana so far this year. So far this year, more than 600 people have been deported, whose most serious convictions were marijuana-related offenses. And in 3 out of 4 cases, the offenses occurred at least 5 years ago. Contractor Hector Madrid Reyes was driving to Home Depot in March when he was rear-ended. As he and the other driver exchanged information, a Georgia State Patrol officer pulled over and asked for their licenses. Madrid, who arrived in the United States from Honduras as a teenager and was awaiting a court hearing for his asylum claim, didn't have one. There's no public transportation where we live at. No Uber, no Lyft, said his wife, Jacqueline, about his choice to drive. Everything's 45 minutes from everything. It's a calculated risk we have to take to support our family. That risk has grown even greater for thousands of immigrant families under the Trump administration as officials expand efforts to deport people with little or no criminal history. The monthly number of people deported whose most serious conviction was a traffic violation, such as driving without a license, has more than tripled in the last 6 months, hitting almost 600 in May, according to a new estimate by the Marshall Project. In total, over 1,800 people with traffic violations have been deported this year. People with no criminal conviction at all make up 2/3 of more than the 120,000 people deported between January and May. For another 8%, the only offense on their record was illegal entry into the United States. Only about 12% were convicted of a crime that was either violent or potentially violent. The numbers contradict officials' continued claims that immigration enforcement is focusing on the worst of the worst criminal offenders. The numbers are estimates from the Marshall Project analysis of immigration and customs enforcement data provided to the Deportation Data Project in response to a Freedom of Information request. The group noted that the data set may be incomplete and could undercount the true number of deportations. ICE officials, of course, did not respond to a request for a comment. For many facing removal, the crimes on the record are years old. So far this year, 600 people have been deported whose most serious convictions were marijuana-related offenses. Again, in 3 out of 4 cases, that was more than 5 years old. It's not all about convictions anymore, said Tim Warden, a directing attorney for the Northwest Immigration Rights Project, a Washington-based legal organization. There's no discretion. It's just trying to get as many people as they can any way they can. Historical data from the Deportation Data Project shows that previous administrations also deported people with no conviction, let's be clear, or only minor offenses, but the numbers have increased under Trump. From Biden's inauguration through the end of fiscal year 2023, the last day with available data, over half the people deported had no criminal conviction. So, that's important context. To be fair, not partisan. During that period, an average of 80 people a month were deported with only traffic offenses, compared with an average of 350 a month so far under Trump's second term. Some of Trump's advisors have said publicly that the administration's goal is for 3,000 ICE arrests a day. But in recent court filing, immigration officials have denied having a quota. Some attorneys worry this pressure to deport more people is leading to an increase in racial profiling and that more drivers of color are being pulled over for minor traffic violations as they lead as a way to check their legal status. 20 states have recently passed laws that increase local police departments' involvement in immigration enforcement. And a growing number of police departments are signing agreements with the Department of Homeland Security to enforce federal immigration laws during encounters like routine traffic stops. We hear people pulled over for minor reasons, like a broken blinker, crossing the yellow line, or the tint is too dark in their window, said Paul Chavez, Director of Litigation and Advocacy for Americans for Immigration Justice, a Miami-based nonprofit. People are arrested for these very minor things, brought to jail, fingerprinted, and then handed over to ICE. Chavez noted that many people are being charged solely with driving without a license, a crime police generally discover only after making the traffic stop, i.e. what was the probable cause. If you're pulled over and that's the only accusation, in my mind, that's pretty clear evidence of racial profiling, he said. The number of people deported with only nonviolent offenses like trespassing, failure to appear in court, marijuana, shoplifting, traffic violations has almost doubled since January. So this goes on and on and on. I could go on and on and on. I'd like to hear what the other guests and pundits think today.
Well, sounds like they're enforcing the law.
Exactly. Exactly. I agree with you. You know, and the one part that everybody keeps on missing is that all of these people are guilty of a crime as far as crossing a border illegally. Okay, I cannot just go into Canada and just cross over there and expect to not get a charge. I can't go into any other country and not enter through a port of entry and not expect to get charged with a crime. And so why everyone thinks that they can just come into America without going through a port of entry is just totally asinine to me. And so those are all crimes, regardless of whatever they got picked up for. It doesn't really matter because they've already broken the law in the first place by being here.
If I may.
Please.
Sodomy is illegal as of 2020 in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, North Carolina, Oklahoma, and South Carolina.
What does sodomy have to do with the federal border?
When our law practitioner says it sounds like they're enforcing the law, what I hear is these poor brown people are getting fucked in the ass because they're not enforcing the sodomy laws in Massachusetts. So let's be clear, not all laws and the application of enforcing those laws is just.
That's a state law versus a federal law, and we have a specific task force that is slow down. No. We have a specific task force known as ICE that is related to enforcing this individual crime as far as illegal immigration. Okay, that is their sole focus currently right now. And so, therefore, they are focusing on that. Maybe you should be petitioning these state governments to imply to put together a sodomy police task force in all of these different states. That would be a better use of your time than bringing that up as a possibility as in this debate.
The article specifically said that ICE is using local law enforcement and signing cooperation agreements between the Department of Homeland and the Department of Homeland Security and these local law enforcements to act as proxy to enforce these laws. So when you task your local police with enforcing those laws, what other laws could they have been enforcing otherwise? Why are we making it their job to do the job of the federal government?
Well, this is the thing.
Pretty good.
It's actually not, because the reality of it is that a lot of times all of these local agencies interact with the general public a lot more. So then when they make an arrest, what those agreements mean is that, hey, they're going to check the immigration status or legal U.S. citizenship status of the individual person that they apprehend for whatever reason they apprehend them. And then if they are someone that is here illegally, they're going to turn them over to ICE as opposed to letting them go through the process and releasing them back onto the streets. That's what those agreements are about, Yarrow. That was cute. That was
really
cute.
about controlling immigration. Why don't they arrest the owners of the businesses that hire these illegal?
I totally agree. I totally agree with you, Todd. I think those people should 100% be held accountable as well. I'm in total support of that. I have no problem with that.
So what's happening in Nebraska is that all the farmers are going out of business, right? Because there's nobody to work the fields, right? So
there's plenty of people to work out there
for hiring illegal.
workers? Yes. If those people are hiring illegal workers, yes, they should be arrested, Todd. Yes.
Oh, then
because they're aiding and abetting to the whole program overall. The reality is, if there wasn't people that were creating these types of jobs and these types of opportunities, people wouldn't be coming across illegally trying to seek them. And so they are enablers, as far as I'm concerned, in this whole process, almost just as much as us as Sleepy Joe Biden is in his administration, allowing Kamala Harris to be the border czar and letting everyone traffic over here across the border. Crickets, huh? Interesting. What are you going to say, Michael? What were you going to say?
Not much.
Okay.
I think it's very interesting. I don't think the sodomy analogy works. But, I understand there are a lot of bad laws on the books that have to be taken off, and that really is the question. And that's the difference between this and that. Is this immigration issue necessarily a bad law at this day and time? Is it something that we may be able to lax on in the future or change? That depends, but we have to really take care of America first and get us back strong, I think, before, just doing this. And we need serious visas and stuff for the farmers to be able to get enough workers in here that they need. And or I think they should be some part of a program that a lot of these farmers that have been working with these people for a long period of time maybe should be able to do something in order to assist them, to allow them to continue to stay there for that work purpose, instead of having to send them back and bring them back. I think, those types of things, because I definitely know agricultural farms and nurseries and that nature throughout the state that have been working with some of these people for 5-10 years, so although they haven't done the work.
Breaking the law, Michael. They're all breaking the law.
They're all lawbreakers, Michael.
That's our,
how to protect the kids.
Everyone on this did for years. And that's not about the kids. It's about giving them an easier pathway forward to be able to get here. We know that they're responsible, hardworking individuals at this point, and figure it out. Because, we have to create a happy medium as someone, I'm like third generation Italian. Grandparents, great grandparents came over on Ellis Island. So we have to have a pathway for people to be here, but a legal pathway, and make sure that, get people to contribute to society.
A nation of immigrants hates immigrants.
And here's where I think we can get bipartisan.
We hate illegal immigration.
So here's where I think we can get some bipartisan support. Okay.
Yep.
The shekels. First of all, I'm going to start a little subgroup called Citizens for Sodomy Sovereignty, so we can abolish that law in 16 states.
Oh boy.
Okay. Again, when we talk about enforcing the laws, we need to look at all the laws that are on the books, because enforcing the laws doesn't mean the laws are right or that they're being enforced properly.
I agree with you. Don't make laws you can't enforce. I agree with that.
Or don't prevent people from using the back door. If that's, I mean, why are we enforcing morality, right? Like, that's a question we should probably explore, because there's a lot of people who claim the moral high ground, but the most moral thing is to not impose one's morals, with the exception of rape and incest and pedophilia, on other people, right? So there's that. But I think where we could all agree is that while we don't want a porous border, we need to protect our economy. And the agricultural economy that we have, not just in California, but in many other states, is built upon undocumented labor. And so how do we solve the undocumented immigration issue without decimating the economy? And the economy of not just blue California, but other red states. We now have China not giving billions of dollars in soybean futures to red states because they're concerned that they're not going to have a harvest to receive, because the news that is being blared all over the world about rounding up the immigrants that aren't here legally is affecting confidence in the American farmer's ability to deliver on overseas contracts. So whether you're red, whether you're blue, whether you're purple, no matter how you vote, no matter who you think is the best president, I think we can all agree that maintaining America's presence as an economic powerhouse means we have to support agriculture. And if we're supporting agriculture, that is one of the best examples of where undocumented immigrants are providing an economic benefit beyond the paycheck that they receive. How do we not decimate that dynamic and still create a higher level of accountability about who comes in and how they come in? I haven't heard a solution from anybody on that, and certainly not in this administration. If you don't get elected to solve problems, then what are you doing in office?
Profiting.
Go for it, Michael. What were you saying?
Yeah, I mean, there are different ways to do that. Like, you can fill out forms to sponsor someone that's a skilled worker, or different labor, and things of that nature to come to the country if you're a business.
EB-5.
There's different options for us to be able to do that in the appropriate way, as opposed to people jumping the border and getting a job. So I think those are different things. And I think
if there were no
ways to do
jobs,
it.
nobody be jumping the border. 259. Listen, 259 farms have filed for bankruptcy so far this year.
And
No,
Michael
believe me,
Minardi has a
I
good
don't think
point
that is right at all.
with the
I'm a
skilled
farmer.
worker program, but that skilled worker program applies to these computer programmers who are super brilliant. But the labor for agriculture is by definition not very skilled labor and
No,
isn't going to.
100%. You know, I'm just saying we could create a program for, again, like I was saying before, allow these people to work with them, or whatever, to bring them in or sponsor them for agricultural types of different purposes. Right.
Yep.
And not be $1 million
I would,
visa.
I would support something like that all day. You know what I mean? I would support something like that all day.
Good.
Yeah.
Would you mind if they live near white people?
I don't care where they live, as long as they're not living in Section 8 federal funded housing. Hey,
listen, honestly, when you meet a lot of, at least the immigrants that I met in Florida, including my wife and her family, a lot of them are wonderful, incredible people that are hard workers.
100%.
Really value family and things of that nature. And I understand, and I'm not totally on the whole immigrant criminal issue, because, we have plenty of Americans who are way worse criminals than immigrants.
That's true, too.
Like people, right?
Yep.
We need to protect and help our people as opposed to destroy them. So I really think that that's not 100% accurate.
So they're saying Hawaii Sustainable in the chat. He's saying that they actually already do have a visa program like that. That's called H-2A for farm work labor to be able. So apparently that program already exists, and so I'm all for that. But all that this has been a great conversation. Jenny Beth, do you have anything you want to throw in before we go to commercial? All right.
Yeah, I'm always confused when people are like, well, they're being deported for doing nothing wrong. Illegal immigrant. The first word is illegal. That's the part where they broke the law.
Exactly that. And on that, we're going to go to our final commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, And I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade. And in a GMP certified facility, so you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where am I even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Test it. It's not a name, it's a promise.
All right, Jenny Beth, and we are back. We got Todd next, Jenny.
Oh, coming up next, the golden liberal voice from the lab space in Las Vegas, Todd Denkin.
The crowd goes wild. Oh, that was funny for you, Jenny.
She's had some wit. She's had a couple wit, last day or two.
Yeah, my story about the very strange red state of Texas. As the Texas hemp industry is on shaky ground as the Senate pushes a THC ban going against the governor's wishes. That's right. Things are getting pretty heated in Texas. We've got a legislative showdown happening between the state Senate, hemp industry folks, and even Governor Greg Hot Wheels Abbott himself. All about what's next for consumable hemp products. Thank you, Yarrow. Even Governor Abbott has been pretty vocal about wanting to regulate these products instead of just banning them outright. Texas Senate just voted again to outlaw THC hemp products. Controversial bill pushed by Senator Charles Perry. Basically make a whole bunch of legal businesses illegal overnight if it passes. But what's the big deal with the Senate bill? Well, it would turn possessing almost any cannabis product with cannabinoids other than CBD or CBG into a Class B misdemeanor. a huge deal. It would wreck the current hemp market and put consumers and businesses in a tough legal spot. Now the bill's fate is in the hands of the House of Representatives. Similar bill failed there before, so there's still a bit of hope for the industry. Governor Hot Wheels has been pretty clear. He wants a framework for hemp products that controls potency, limits synthetic stuff, and has good enforcement. He's looking for a practical solution that keeps consumers safe and the market stable, not just a ban. The Senate keeps pushing for a complete ban, which is a pretty big disconnect from what the governor wants. The Texas hemp industry is seriously worried about what happens if this ban goes through. Advocates are saying it would absolutely devastate the industry, which has seen tons of growth and created jobs since hemp became federally legal in 2018. Here's the thing. Hardly any Texas hemp businesses only make THC-free CBD or CBG products. Most of the popular and profitable hemp products, including those with Delta-8 THC, have small amounts of THC or other minor cannabinoids that would be illegal under this new proposed ban. This means countless businesses would become non-compliant overnight, leading to closures, job losses, and a huge economic mess. Even though the current ban bill's chances in the House are up in the air since it failed before, there have been other ideas floating around during this second special session of the Texas legislature. One interesting proposal is to limit consumable hemp products to adults 21 and older. This actually lines up better with what the governor wants: responsible regulation and age restriction, which could be a way to find a compromise and avoid a full market shutdown. In a bit of a twist, Governor Hot Wheels recently signed a bill that expands the conditions for medical cannabis in Texas. It shows a more nuanced approach to cannabis policy in the state, acknowledging the medical benefits of certain compounds. Officials are currently working on the rules for expanded medical cannabis program, showing that Texas is trying to figure out the whole cannabis and hemp state landscape. Beyond just hemp, there are bigger conversations happening in Texas about cannabis reform. There's a separate bill aimed at protecting consumers from criminal charges if they unknowingly have illegal marijuana that just looks like hemp. It highlights the need for clear rules and consumer protection as the market evolves. Plus, another proposal has come up to fully legalize marijuana for adults 21 and older, which shows that public opinion and national trends are leaning towards broader legalization. Polls in Texas show that people really want synthetic cannabinoids regulated to get their therapeutic cannabis through licensed medical marijuana programs instead of relying on the unregulated smoke shops. This tells us people want a regulated and safe market, not just a blanket ban. If the people want it, they'll probably go against it. In a big show of opposition, hemp advocates delivered over 100,000 petition signatures against their earlier proposed ban, really highlighting how much the industry contributes to the state's economy and jobs. This ongoing legislative debate in Texas isn't just about a plant. It's about an economic freedom, consumer choice, and the future of a rapidly growing industry. I'm Todd Denkin, and you're not, right here at High 9 News. What do you guys think?
Well, Todd, I think this is good news overall. Because the reality is that Governor Abbott definitely does want a regulated framework in place, and so even if any type of any ban doesn't make it through the House and the Senate, we know ultimately he's going to veto it, which is the ultimate do not pass go, do not collect $200 in regards with this situation, and really can hold the legislature accountable to create some type of meaningful, regulations that make sense, because Governor Abbott understands that a total ban is not actually a total ban. It's just handing the industry over to the illicit market, because you're never going to stop the direct-to-consumer sales.
I'm sure he's invested in some private prisons, so I'm sure he wants to fill them up. And if there's empty beds, you got to put some people in them.
That's total propaganda.
Well, so here's how he can say that, if I may. The propaganda is right here in the article, and it says that Senator Rick Perry says, quote, "Every state that has legalized recreational pot may have less people in prison, but they have more people laying on the streets, and definitely from a business community, less people working because of lost productivity." That's the motivation behind the people. Who
I don't believe that's a motivation. I don't believe that's the motivation at all. That's a talking point.
That's the quote from the person who did it.
Exactly, because
it's not a prerequisite
exactly
for the fact.
Yarrow, it's a talking point. It's a total talking point. It actually means absolutely nothing because they didn't use any type of quantifiable data to demonstrate that point. It's strictly a talking point. It's just
talking points with no data from a party that is saying that's the reason why they're doing it. You should listen to what people say and take them at face value.
I actually hold them at more value than face value, Yarrow, because I look at their actions as opposed to just the words and talking points that they feed the mainstream media, because we know the whole mainstream media is totally corrupt and biased.
Right. So the talking points of the Republican senator who passed this to ban THC said that as the reason why.
Again.
No, it's the same.
Clearly, it's fake, Yarrow.
Yeah, it's clearly fake, Yarrow.
It's fake. That's not his real quote. That's the liberal biased media making up fake news and putting words in his mouth. You know that.
He said, we don't need to be another California, Colorado, Oregon, New York, New Mexico. That's what he said. He gave the paste picante sauce. You ain't from around here. New York City.
Oh, that's funny.
You make your salsa in New York City. So he basically shit on all the economic powerhouses and beautiful other regions of the country. The only thing Abbott should be doing is using his considerable influence so we can update the Farm Bill, so we can get some guidance, some lucid guidance in terms of how intoxicating hemp-derived cannabinoids are going to be slightly more regulated. And instead, he's got to push back against his own party. Mr. Hot Wheels probably is actually going to be on the right side of this issue.
He is.
Because he's not trying to just shut down.
He is on the right
industry.
side of this issue. That's why it's crazy to me that Todd is being so disrespectful by calling him that and not calling him Governor Greg Abbott.
Well, again.
He's such a douche, then I'd...
He's not. He's actually a really nice guy. What are you going to say, Michael? You've been trying to get a word in.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just sick of the whole hemp cannabis debate, honestly. This stuff every day, it's a different issue with regards how ridiculous we're all fighting over a plant, whether or not it should be legal or not, or what should be regulated for adults to use. I mean, and I hope they do. He does veto it, continues to fight and fighting, and the industry continues to proliferate as much as possible. As so does the cannabis, and that's what really has to happen.
Yeah.
I think they should be concentrating on the Texas floods and helping people out rather than arguing about whether hemp should be illegal.
They are. They're focusing on the flood of immigrants that came in through Texas, Todd.
Right, but not the flood where people lost their homes. Right?
I couldn't help myself. You know what I'm saying? I do want the victims of the actual flood to be helped out as well. So I don't want that.
Good luck.
I don't want my comment to. I don't want to get all this.
There's no
this hate mail
anymore.
And da da da. Just because it was a woke program, Todd. That was, you know what I'm saying, wasting tons of federal dollars. You know what I'm saying?
What's your definition of woke, Jason?
Definition of woke? The DEI, anything that promotes any of these types of these types of things. DEI is not equality. DEI is straight up reverse racism, Todd. Okay, straight up. That's exactly what it is.
Back to cannabis policy.
Right. Yep.
Texas has been a lot of beverages, a lot of the D9 stuff is being manufactured in Texas. They've had a relatively business-friendly environment for the hemp industry. They don't have a big penchant for regulation or over-regulation. Sometimes that can be not great, but for the hemp industry, I think it's been helpful. When you have this kind of saber rattling with the state Senate, I think it impinges on investment capital and entrepreneurs seeing Texas as a base of operations, if not for sales, for manufacturing, for things that are legal to sell in other states. I don't think that Abbott, I mean, if he had a choke collar and he could just give a quick correction to the legislators in his party to quit all the saber rattling as a way to finally come up with some sort of lucid policy, I think it would be better for the hemp industry. There's no doubt in my mind that hemp is an important source of cannabinoids. It's less expensive, less taxed. And the question becomes, Abbott clearly understands that it's an economic driver.
Yep.
Otherwise, he wouldn't have done the things he's done recently. And so can he find a way to reel these people in, tell Perry to put a stock in it and to quit with that old anti-cannabis talking points? And can he figure out a way to support the industry? Because ag is not a very high profit sector. There's a lot of land in Texas. There's a lot of farmers in Texas. There's a lot of ranches in Texas. Hemp is not a bad thing. How do we grow more of it? That's the question.
I agree with you on that, Yarrow. And the other part about this whole thing is I think that Governor Abbott listened to a lot of the law enforcement testimony where they clearly stated that they don't have the resources to enforce these hemp laws and enforce all of the other laws without a large allocation of new funds to specifically enforce on these things. And I don't believe that that's in the Texas budget for them to be able to appropriate those types of funds. And so it's basically creates an unenforceable law. And we were talking about in a previous story how lawmakers should not be making unenforceable laws because it just doesn't make sense. And I think that's really the crux of the whole issue for Governor Abbott is you can't stop this. It's too far out there. It's too difficult to regulate on a plan. It just doesn't make sense. And so let's come up with sensible regulations. So then that way people can have their freedom and liberty. And at the same time, we shouldn't be prosecuting a plant at the same time as well. And I think that's what it ultimately comes down to.
And I agree with you, Jason.
I agree too.
I believe Abbott will veto the bill. So what's all the freaking drama about?
You know what?
Just move on.
Speaking of moving on, Todd, I am going to move on, and I love that wow coming out from you, Michael Minardi, because that's how I felt too when I got both of these two to agree with me. It looks like we're making some progress here in America, possibly.
I mean, that was the best.
I disagree with that statement. I agree with the Abbott veto statement.
The Abbott analysis. All right, fair enough.
You can't even keep their electrical grid on. You think that they're going to legislate hemp and weed properly? Please.
I'm with you. And Michael,
for a revised farm bill.
Maybe they should get all the immigrants riding like life cycles to create power.
Hey, that's not a bad idea. Ride for life.
Idea, man.
Ride for life. Hey, that's what I'm saying.
So many hours they get across the border.
Maybe that new ICE detention center, we can get a whole bunch of like spin bikes over there to generate power, and throw them on there. You know what I mean?
Pentalon power plant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think I'm onto something.
Yeah, I think you might be.
Yeah,
I think
you're
you
on
might be.
Something, all right.
I think you might be. I'm not mad at that. Well, and Michael, I really want to hear your opinions on this because this is a legal story right here because the plaintiffs, they seek a 60-day extension in the U.S. Supreme Court marijuana prohibition challenge. That's right. Applicants in a closely watched marijuana case have filed for a 60-day extension to submit their petition for a writ of certiorari to the U.S. Supreme Court, shifting the deadline from August 25th, 2025 to October 24th of 2025. The case, brought by Canna Provisions, GIC Sellers, Wise Care Farm, and Verano Holdings Corp., is led by prominent attorney David Boyce, who happens to be a friend of mine, and targets Congress's authority to criminalize interstate marijuana activities that take place entirely within Massachusetts. Plaintiffs argue that marijuana cultivated, processed, and sold strictly within the state borders is not fungible with interstate and marijuana, and has even reduced interstate trafficking, putting it outside the scope of federal regulation under the Commerce Clause. The challenge seeks to revisit the Supreme Court's 2025 decision in Gonzalez versus Raich, which upheld Congress's power to ban marijuana even when it was grown and consumed solely within a state. The request for more time cites Boyce's demanding case schedule and the significant consequential questions at stake, and the need to accommodate numerous interested parties. Law professors, nonprofits, and state governments are preparing to submit amicus briefs supporting the court's review, but they require additional time to finalize their arguments. The Solicitor General's office confirmed it does not object to the extension, and the First U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals rejected the lawsuit back in May in a May ruling against the Massachusetts Massachusetts cannabis business and reaffirming the Raich precedent. Despite the setback, attorneys representing the plaintiffs, including Jonathan Schiller of Boyce Schiller Flexner, signaled at the time that they would seek Supreme Court review. And Boyce has since argued that the predicates of that decision no longer exist, pointing to the dramatic shift in marijuana laws nationwide since 2005. Although most justices have not spoken publicly on marijuana laws, Justice Clarence Thomas, my guy, has previously questioned the federal government's approach. In 2021, he wrote that the federal prohibition, in quotes, may no longer be necessary or proper, end quote, citing contradictions in enforcement and the widespread legalization movement at the state level. And legal observers note that if the court takes up the case, the three liberal justices, Sonia Sotomayor, Alana Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson, are likely to align with Thomas in favor of scaling back prohibition. That means only one of the remaining 5 justices would need to agree to potentially end the federal ban, you guys. And I think that's probably how this could possibly play out. The court's decision on whether to grant Satori could have sweeping implications for the future of marijuana law in the United States, and if taken up, the case would mark the first major marijuana-related Commerce Clause challenge to reach the Supreme Court in 2 decades, you guys. Michael Minardi, what do you got to say about this?
I love it. I love that envelope up there. Whether or not they're going to, I don't really know. I think it's a very difficult situation without the rescheduling or the argument there. Their briefs about that it's not constitutionally classified as a Schedule I substance anymore. So I think those types of things have to go hand in hand. But anything, type of information up there, I mean, that goes our way. We don't want to see Alex B. Reich just come back and just reaffirm that.
Yep.
The government has the power, regardless of whether or not it's logic or arbitrary or based on factors. Random belief to keep cannabis, criminalized the way it is. It'd be interesting to see.
This is definitely going to be interesting to watch, especially when when you look at Clarence Thomas's comments and whatnot. And I imagine, I would imagine, just as a hypothetical, that they could probably get Justice Kavanaugh and probably even Justice Amy Cole Barnett Amy Cole Barrett to vote alongside them. I would imagine based off of past legal decisions that they made in the past. Huh?
I'm gonna vote for more beer.
I mean, surprisingly, with such a conservative court, I think there is a possibility.
Yeah,
I do too.
Yeah,
especially when we're talking about individual rights and actually looking at the letter of the law. There was also, in addition to that case, that was the AP Futures case that made those comments. There was comments made in the Sue Sicily challenge at one point. She was trying to reschedule where they had said, like, on a proper record, it may be hard for the DEA to type of stuff. Medical. So very interesting that hasn't been brought up, and that's something we argue in courts throughout the state of Florida, regularly challenging cannabis as a Schedule I substance, especially with the drug number fentanyl being a Schedule II.
Exactly right. That's going to be very, very interesting. Jenny Beth, you have any thoughts on this? No, she's gone.
Jenny doesn't have thoughts, but she occasionally has statements.
No, Jenny definitely has thoughts, but Jenny's definitely working and going through some stuff right now. So thanks, Yarrow, for your assistance.
You're welcome. My article had marijuana mentioned 6 times. Next time, read it in advance.
Well, next time, report it better, and I won't have to.
Oh, boy. Shots fired, you guys. Yarrow, Todd.
I'm going to separate you two in 1 minute. 1 minute. I'll turn this podcast right around.
It's not a podcast, Todd. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.
My comment is I see this as a first of all, this is a very formidable lawyer. Very established track record. And I think this could go somewhere. I'm optimistic. I think amongst all the disagreement over everything in this country, this could be a place where the federal government decides that it's no longer relevant. They talk about interstate doesn't matter because this is cannabis material being kept within a state. The right likes to talk about less federal government and states' rights, and now that'll be put to the test. The left likes to talk about the disproportionate impacts of cannabis prohibition on marginalized communities. That will get put to the test. I think there's a very, very strong chance, if it gets before the Supreme Court, that they can get the votes they need.
Fair enough. Any final thoughts, Todd, before we close out?
No.
Okay.
You guys kind of covered it.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Cannabis for helping us keep the lights on over here. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day. And thank you to Cloud Media partners Elias and Kai somewhere in the metaverse. Did one of you guys say something? Oh, okay. I thought one.
Oh, I said weed for the people. I
yes,
did a little
weed.
John what in the background.
All right, I'm with it. Weed for the people.
Could use a little shameless plug. If everyone can join Becoming the King of Pot on my new podcast, please go further.
Yeah,
down
make sure
the
you
YouTube
check out Todd's new podcast he's got going on, Becoming the King of Pot on YouTube and whatnot. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.